This episode of Knights of the Spirit podcast will be a recording of a class that I taught recently, which was more like an interview than than just a regular class, and I thought you'd be interested in seeing it. So enjoy. Okay, this is the Book of Activity, Chapter 2, uh, beginning with verse 14 and going through 16. So verse 14 says, "Out of the depths of the self shall come many new ordinances. For as I have said, thy rod and thy staff shall comfort thee. Now I say, thy rod and thy staff shall give thy way life, and thou shalt go forth and bring the glory of the Father into reality." Now read that again. "Out of the depths of the self shall come many new ordinances. For as I have said, thy rod and thy staff shall comfort thee. Now I say, thy rod and thy staff shall give thy way life, and thou shalt go forth and bring the glory of the Father into reality." So what I'd like to do is take this phrase at a time, and we can talk about it because there's so much in each of these sayings. So out of the depths of the self shall come many new ordinances. What is that about? What do you think about that, Carol?
I think about the going within
Hmm.
and how you get the guidance, meditations and exercises to growing more fully, and that rod and the staff to
Right,
comfort my own life.
right. Well, what I'm getting out of it is that he's bringing in some upgrades,
Yep,
like the
yep,
rod and the staff going from comfort to life.
yeah,
So not just comforting, but adding to one's courage and ability to engage with life more fully. That's what I'm seeing.
absolutely.
And so then we're left with what are these new ordinances and how, what's being upgraded in terms of spiritual realities or beliefs that we've had through the years. You know, it's we know we're moving into a new age, into the age of Aquarius, and that certain fundamental things are shifting. So what are those things, and how are we going to what are we going to get from self that gives us an upgrade to our old assumptions about spirituality?
Well, there's always new do's and don'ts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, new do's
Uh,
and don'ts, right?
they change over time.
Because our lives are changing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a new world. Everything from just the internet itself to social media to all of the cultural things that are going on. It's my gosh, there's a lot going on. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of the turmoil seems to be centered around identity, where especially with young people, they're not sure why they're here or what they're doing or what the purpose of life is. They seem to be fragmented now, which is some people are saying is a direct result of social media and the way it separates people, divides them along uh, tribal lines. And so, in the absence of any consensual takes on reality, people are tending to form their own little islands of meaning and then feeling disconnected from the whole. So, as we were talking about, the new conditions are going to demand new laws, new
from us.
articulations. Right,
From us. There's more of a demand. It's like, yeah, we can't slide anymore. It's like you have to come into presence. Woo, just, yeah.
right. And presence depends on the individual presence, because if we just identify with a group, if we try to achieve presence of the group, then it weakens the whole thing, uh, because groups are
Yeah,
dependent on strong
right,
individuals. Yeah.
right,
And
right.
the
Yeah.
and the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's a very strong movement right now towards collectivism, which the individual is diminished, and is being asked to sacrifice his or her personal needs for the for
Group.
the for the group, or like the planet, you know, for the environment, or for racial inequality, or um, women's rights, these
Well,
broader
that's,
issues.
well, yeah, but that's still an old form, that I don't see it. I still think that to be a part of a group, you have to be able to represent yourself so you don't get lost, because every individual has to contribute to it. So to me, that's the new form of that, collectivism of the group. Done that in many forms already, but the new call is really to be strong in yourself, to know thyself. So he's talking about the rod, and standing on from that inner knowing and strengthening, know who you are, know what you are, like connect to your depths, and not just whoever is on the. It's not just a horizontal connection, but it's a vertical connection.
Yes, right, exactly
Yeah.
so. Yes, so what's your understanding of the rod and staff symbolism?
I've never really looked at it. I mean, I've read it, but I never quite, went into the rod, the rod, the rod and the staff. It seems like the same thing. I don't know. It's like I need to go deeper within it to kind of be with that, the rod and the staff.
So from my studies, what I've found is that the rod is like a scepter. So it's the
Yeah.
instrument of power. It's the symbol of power of a monarch. It's the
Hmm.
edict. It's like, holding up the rod and saying, let it be written, or this is done. It's even like a permutation of it is the judge's gavel. When a judge comes down with the gavel on the desk, that's it. End of story. We've established, and now we're going to move on, kind of thing. So that's like the rod of
Declaration.
authority. And the staff, then, that's that vertical dimension. And a staff, when it functions as a staff, is has to be vertical, because that's what we use. We use it to support ourselves. And so that would be, to my way of thinking, that would signify alignment with, especially in its vertical sense, so that we align heaven and earth, that we align
Aligned
our
with,
will with God's will. Yeah,
yeah, so that we are that medium that, yeah, that
yeah,
transmits, the transmitter. So we're talking really about transmission, aren't we?
yeah.
Yeah.
And here's an interesting thing about that too, because the the staff is vertical, but the rod is horizontal, as in holding it out, like so, pointing it, pointing the
Yeah.
direction, pointing at an action. Let this be done. The edict, or the fiat.
Rod. Okay, the staff is the
And the
vertical.
and the staff is the authority by which that power is spoken into being. So we have a cross, that's the cross. That's the
Yeah.
cross of Christ.
Right. So it's the vertical and the horizontal meeting at a point, at a junction.
Right, right. But here's the critical part, in that the staff is aligning our will with God's will, but then the rod is putting our articulation on it, our
Well,
unique direction.
that's
See that?
spreading it,
It,
sharing it,
yeah,
sharing it with the world, sharing it with others, and being. I mean, I think that's like that to me is coming into presence, being, and then creating.
right, right. But the cross is like it's
The
almost like the
stand.
X. The X marks the spot. That's our spot on the earth. That's our presence in the earth. If we stand in our own being as an individual, you see,
Yeah,
we have
right,
personal agency, personal presence. Then we draw on the power of God through the staff.
right. We are the rod and the staff. Basically, just the symbolic
Right.
gesture of rod and the staff is the body, because it stands and it's all the human being or anything that is able to be in presence.
Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make
Okay.
is that when the power moves through us, then it finds its expression in our unique approach, our word. In other words, God needs us to shape God's will. We are the mediators where heaven and earth intersect.
Right.
And so the emphasis in Christianity and in the West in general is on the individual, not individualism, but the sanctity of the individual, recognizing that each person, male, female, regardless of race, regardless of religion, each individual person is a unique expression of God and is therefore sacred. And the more a person then identifies with that solo relationship with the Creator, the more individualized or individuated he or she becomes. The less we identify with a group, not that we can't be responsible to the group, but we don't locate our ultimate identity in the group. In other words, I can be responsible as an American citizen, but that doesn't mean I can't identify as a citizen of the world, right? So I'm using a localized
Yeah.
responsibility, but within
Right. Rather
in a
than,
larger
yeah.
context. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. As they say, gotcha.
Yeah, right. But this is interesting stuff, isn't it?
Yes. It's
This
wonderful.
the deep symbolism here
Yeah.
is remarkable.
What
Yeah.
comes to mind for me too is the shepherd.
Yes,
Um, that's what he uses to herd the sheep
and to beat off the wolves,
and to beat off the wolves.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So guiding and protecting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next one and see where this leads us. So verse 15, for in this day I shall draw together the sons and daughters of light, that they shall be as a mighty force, which shall wipe iniquity from the face of the earth. For in this day I shall draw together the sons and daughters of light, and they shall be as a mighty force, which shall wipe iniquity from the face of the earth.
Talk about appropriate for today.
Say again?
Talk about for appropriate for today with what's going on in the world.
Right, right. How do you see this applying, Carol?
Well, we all, the sons and the daughters of light, we pray in unity for certain certain things and certain outcomes for the greatest good, for the higher good. Did we not pray a year or so ago for the best person to lead the country, to be the leader of the United States of America? Yeah.
And so how that plays out, how that particular prayer is answered is not always evident. It's not always obvious. Like what are we seeing? You know, they say be careful what you pray for because you just might get it. My point is that we don't always recognize the answer to a prayer when we get it. That that God has a much bigger picture in mind, and that's really what we're asking for. We're asking for that more universal perspective because we don't know what's good or what's needed. In your example, we don't know who would be best in the White House. We really don't know because it's way too complex a chess game for that.
But we
So
pray for the greater good.
that
For
that we can be definite about, right? The
Mhm.
greater good. And then we can
Mhm.
really put our foot down, you know, the way I like to say, get in God's face and say, no, we want the greater good, period,
Mhm.
right?
And
We're
I
not
mean,
going to budge.
you go to the poll and you vote for whoever you vote for
Right, right.
personally, but if you've done your prayers for the greater good, we have to have faith in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if that's truly our prayer, then that will manifest in us as guidance. We may think we're going to vote for one person, then we just find ourselves voting for the other person, and we can't say why. We just, I don't know, just something at the last moment said, do this. Can't explain it. That's the faith part. And that's the working out of the law. That's how our own prayers manifest through us as guidance.
We all said, God, hear our prayer.
Yeah. And then, so now it's just hang on.
Mhm. And sometimes that happens in life. I mean, we've all had experiences where you pray when you get down to the nitty gritty and pray for the greater good.
Yes, right.
Sometimes there's turmoil and it's not the outcome you thought there would be, but you're not God. I mean, you prayed for the greater good, and here it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And
Keep your
let it
eyes on what you want, what you
let
want. Hmm.
let it do its thing.
Let it do its thing.
Well, in terms of what we pray for, sometimes we're praying for one thing, but how it's going to come about may be a completely different route. So we are not always, because there's various ways the way things manifest. It isn't directly like we may expect direct. So, since you used the voting thing, it doesn't necessarily mean, because there are also plans, that the storyline has already been created. So this is nothing new. What's happening was created long ago. So it's all in alignment, and so it's in how we work with that. So it's like things are already presented. How are you going to work with that? So if you want help and more insight in how to work, how do I approach this situation? Because it was already created, somebody wrote the book already. So here we are in the experience of it. Who are we going to be? How are we going to deal with it? And,
But
it's
when
like,
you
yeah,
say somebody already wrote the book, what part of the story has been written?
the whole thing.
So is that
We think that we're creating it, but the story has been created on the other level. It's already been written. It's already predicted. Trump was was the shoe-in. It was already part of the story. This is not a new story. This isn't just an arbitrary thing. The creators already created this story. We're just here having an experience of it.
So the way I understand it, I hear what you're saying, and I know that the way I see that is that some things are inevitable. If you do A and you do B, then C is inevitable. But as the way I understand it is that the story having been written, I say the storyline has been written, but we're fleshing out the details. So we have a certain agency. We can author part of that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we are the actors. We are, so it's a real play.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
our
Right.
part, even though our part has been probably included, but we have the opportunity to interact and co-create. That's why we're co-creators in the plot of the story, and who's going to do what. Okay, so what's my plot? I mean, who am I going to be? So it's really, I think it's how to be the strength of your character, and what your choices you're going to make. Are you going to be more materialistic? Are you going to align with spirit? And it's like,
Right.
who are
And
you?
being more materialistic in this sense would mean, getting set or getting fixated on one candidate and voting for him rather than listening to the guidance you're receiving from your prayer, which is the greater good, right? But
Mhm.
this is where our mind kind of hijacks our spirit, and the mind focuses on this one person, and we ignore the guidance we're getting.
Mhm.
That's a problem. I mean, that's the universal problem as far as I can tell. That
Well,
battle between heart and mind.
yeah, even if you didn't know who you were going to vote for and you voted for someone else
Uh-huh.
that doesn't win, you still have prayed for the greater good.
Yes, yes.
And, maybe you got in the way a little bit, and who knows?
Yeah.
And who cares? Because you
Well,
prayed for the greater good.
one thing that helps me, weather current events is the idea that we pray for the greater good, and in order for the greater good to manifest, to show up, there has to be a purge of the old, of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're caught in the crux of right now seems to be the purge.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing the results of our own selfishness, our own greed, our own malice, all of the things that make us human in the negative sense. That's all flying back in our face. And so now we have to deal with it within ourselves before we can see the geopolitical world more clearly.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
my take on it.
it's manifesting for who we are, what we choose and how we want to proceed, and I mean, it's all about growing in consciousness,
Yes.
because chaos does not resolve anything, and
Right.
we are in chaos.
Yeah.
So there's nothing you can't, go and there's nothing you can do in this with this. There's no resolution. All that has to do is just fall apart in its own way, and all we can do is walk away from it and not give it any more force.
Well, walk away from it, but maybe start building the new.
Well, that's the new is already here. It's just our opportunity is to step into it,
Where is it?
step out of it. It's
Show
it,
me.
it is it is between. It is a state of being. It is a state of consciousness. And that's what we're going to have to choose, because we can't shift that, because there's the consciousness that's a part of the lower grades. They're in grade 2. We want to go to grade 3. And we
Yeah.
can't play in that cesspool, because they don't get that there's another way. They don't get that there's anything else. They
Right.
just don't have that perception. They don't have that vision.
Sonia, did you want to add to this?
One of the things that I have studied, and there are a lot of things out there to study, but if we look at our universe, it was established in order. So when there appears to be a lot of chaos, as Mara used the word chaos, basically it's almost like we're not in alignment with the natural order of things. The laws of the universe they start with order. That's what I have been taught. And chaos is not a part of order. It might be
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
that's beautiful. You know what came to mind as you were saying that? Because you were saying you wanted to you're looking into yourself to see the roots of chaos and how to bring order, and that's like you're doing it in yourself so that you'll have an effect on the world. And that the strangest phrase came in, the one that evangelicals use so much. And they ask you, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal savior? And the word personal just jumped out at me because unless we really personalize our alignment with truth, not knowing what it is, but that's our prayer. Show me the truth. Give me wisdom. The more we align with that personally, that's how we will realize the salvation of the world.
That's perfect.
It keeps circling back to the sanctity of the individual as being like the flagpole. You know, this is what we rally around. This is what we hold sacred, and out of that we get human rights. You know, because the Judeo-Christian culture of the West has placed the sanctity of the individual at the top. That's the flag around which the whole culture rotates, revolves. And there, and then from there we get freedom of speech. Because in a collectivist society, there is no freedom of speech. It takes a society based on the sanctity of the individual to even come up with something like freedom of speech. Because that's honoring what? That's honoring one's conscience. That's placing personal conscience above man's law.
Well, it's also listening to the other as a different other rather than, saying you must be like me, like you must do what I say.
Well, that's collectivism.
Yeah, from
That's
Yeah.
that
Collectivism,
conformity.
manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah. And blind conformity.
Yeah. Yeah.
which is what's going on and has been going on, and
Yeah.
I
Well,
have
that's kind
some.
of the roots of tribalism dictate that. I mean, that's evolutionary and genetic. It's just hardwired into us. We like to stick together because we're social beings, and we know that if we stand out, we're the first one to get picked off. So we look to, you know, I trust you. I'm telling you, you can trust me because I believe what you believe. You know, we have solidarity and there's strength and security in that. You know, anxiety goes down.
Trust, yeah, so we're
Trust,
talking about
yeah,
trust, yeah.
exactly. And what will we sacrifice? I mean, what will we yeah, what would we sacrifice for the sake of trust? You see, that's where,
Well, what do we trust in? I mean, trusting you, it's like, so we have to have some similar values. What we value, I mean, it's like, so you have to have a personal value that I can see that I have a personal value. I mean, it's like, it does take the individuals because I can't just endow you with my personal values and think that, oh, you must have the same values if I don't know
right.
what your values are.
So we have to communicate
Yeah, communication
what's
is
important to
big.
you and why.
And then be willing to share it in that,
Hmm.
in the depth of um, to each other, which I think we're not used to. We're not comfortable doing that. We don't really know what that is to share. And I think that was that first verse 14. It's like that's what it to me gets is we know thyself.
Yes,
So
right. Our own connection with the God self within relies upon an individuated self, which means personal alignment, personal conscious alignment with our highest good, our highest conception of God. And you can't do that in a group.
and it's not just a conception, but it's a connection. I want, I not gonna just pretend like yeah, you can say all kinds of great things, but are you really connected? You
I
know,
know, right? Where's the proof?
yeah,
Show
it's
me.
gotta be
Show,
real.
don't tell
It's
me about
gotta,
it. Show me.
exactly, be it, be it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Show me who you are. It's like, so express yourself. It's okay. It's like to give permission to the other, and because we've had so much of the denial, you know, let's deny,
Yeah.
pretend it's not there. Now we're having to be asked to show each other who we are, and
Right. And the biggest block to that is when I assume that I know who you are, or I put you in a bucket or in a group, you know, whether that's female or white or
yeah. So
Californian. Yeah.
we're having a reaction and to that,
Yeah.
to some object, and you're objectifying each other instead of realizing like, okay, I'm being objective here, so I'm gonna let go of that so I can go any deeper, into knowing myself and being honest and see you more, rather than releasing all my imaginations that come up that want to make attachments.
Do you have any method or way in which you get around that so you can see the person more directly and not through your
Just
assumptions about them?
well, it's just being in integrity with myself. It's like, oh, that's coming up. Oh, that's interesting. So that, maybe I want to, oh, that's a person that they have more value than I do. Or it's like, it's like,
Right, right. Okay, so you're noticing your own thinking about it.
yeah.
As you think, yes, I do that too. That's the way
So
to do
those,
it. Say,
the
oh, that's
stories that come,
interesting. That's interesting.
yeah,
I'm seeing her this way, or
yeah.
whatever.
So because then we're talking, if that's where we are, then we're only talking to the image that we have projected onto the other, and we don't give the opportunity to the other person to, or give them permission to be themselves, because we're talking to the object
Right, right.
of our projection.
Actually talking to a mental image that we have of them in our brain,
Right. And
right?
so there's still not a meeting of the 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 true being, and because I think that's the place where we need to go to, because we're so inexperienced. It's like we're little babies in that area, because like we don't know, because we've spent eons not pretending, going away from that. Maybe we did at some point, but then now industrialization and competition, and we don't know how to now be with one another. And
Exactly. Well, let's move on to the next one, unless anybody else have anything to add to that. Okay, so verse 16, thou shalt bear no malice, but thou shalt strike hard, for all evil shall be wiped from the face of this earth. For thou shalt bear no malice, but thou shalt strike hard, for all evil shall be wiped from the face of this earth. That's pretty severe.
yeah, well, it's like holding no grudges, but do it anyway.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
personal.
Exactly.
Not personal.
It's like in The
Sorry, it's not
Godfather,
personal.
in The Godfather they would say, it's just business. Don't take it personally.
Don't make
But
it.
what does that mean? Can you be angry without malice? Can you
Yes, you
can you say something about that? What's your experience?
can. Most recent?
Yeah.
Okay, have you ever been around anyone that you just have caught them
Cheating.
lying or manipulating or and um to be able to see that for what it is and be angry but not hold a malice to that person, and to I've been working on blessing that person and not hold any malice.
The way I've experienced it and been on the receiving end of it is if I broke a rule and somebody got mad at me and they
Mm-hmm,
said, this isn't how we do things, right?
mm-hmm,
And so the way what I take from that personally, because when people have said that to me, especially when I was younger, said it to me a lot. It, right. You can imagine. So, but those instances changed me way more than any personal decision I made on myself. It was like a correction coming at me from somebody I respected, and man, that stuck.
mm-hmm.
So when I get angry at people, and this is what I try to do, is I try to put my attention on the value or the law that I think is being broken.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I that's
Right.
the object of my devotion, so that then I can say, this is not the way we do things,
Right.
right? Which is way better than pointing at somebody and saying you're wrong or you're evil. You know,
Right. Right.
to me
Well,
that's got power.
and then the other thing is to give feedback about how this person spoke to you, and then because anger is just the cover for being the underlying emotion, which is feeling hurt by what was said
Mm-hmm.
to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to push back on you a little bit on that, Mara, because the way I experience it, if I put my attention on the law, then I can be angry, and my anger is not resting on top of anything else. It's
Person.
pure
It's
anger because the highest in my mind has been violated. I can justifiably be angry and not be at fault for being angry.
mm-hmm.
But if
Justified anger, yeah, that's the one where you're saying we had an agreement and you broke the agreement, so
yeah, there
you're
you go.
feeling you're
Exactly.
feeling you want some change, you want something, you know,
Right,
to like, why did you break that agreement? I thought we had an understanding.
right. And
But then means, yeah.
that
So
demands
then,
that demands the most uncomfortable thing for most of us, which is confrontation. So unless we can really master confrontation, then we're ultimately being untrue to ourselves, because then
Yeah,
we'll justify it. Well,
right.
they they broke the law, and but I'm not
Yeah,
going
but then
to feel,
the
I'm
only
not going to
way,
make them feel bad about it, right?
right, but, yeah, or shame them. So
Yeah.
it's or
But see
or,
there,
or do
see,
something to hurt them back.
yes, yes. But if you get the right person will game that system. The right person will know that you have that you don't want to make them feel shamed or wrong, and so they can use that against you, and nothing will change, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we can't put those artificial barriers in our confrontation model, because if they feel ashamed, that's on them. That's not on me. If I say
And if they retaliate in a way, that's on them.
that's
That's not
on them, right?
you
Or if we are wanting to shame them because they didn't hold up the agreement,
Well,
or
yeah,
like
but if
a
that's your goal, if that's your motive is to shame the other person, then you're out of whack anyway, right from the get-go.
right.
You've put
People
more
do
into,
that.
huh?
People do that.
Yeah,
People
but we
go
don't.
attack.
We
People do
don't.
all kinds of things. Who
We don't.
knows?
We don't.
We,
That's the
we try
important
not
thing.
to, but that's a humanistic, human.
Human
Who
nature.
knows what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what challenges you have, and then what's your strength? What's stronger than that challenge? And I think that's what we work with ourselves with, and it's like, okay, am I gonna, which choice am I going to take? Am I gonna, try to defend myself? Is that going to be my defense, or, oh yeah, or admit it? Okay, yeah, okay, I made a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's talk about what was our agreement,
Yeah.
and
but
we
you have no responsibility how someone is going to react to, as Michael said it, if it's done in a like when you correct your children, uh, as well. You kind of learn those things so that in later years your relationships with adults are differently too, because you've spent those years doing what's best for your children and calling them on, no, that's unacceptable.
Right.
That's
Right.
unacceptable behavior.
And the reason you can say that is because you put what's best for the children in that paradigm, your relationship with your kids, in that paradigm, you made the highest good what's best for them, right? So if you're true to that, then you can say just about anything to them. And to
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, it might sound harsh, but your kids would hear it just as a correction and not a condemnation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because as you're looking to that highest good within that paradigm of raising your kids, that's going to make them look to that paradigm, and then you've got both of you wanting to do they want to do what's best for them, and they're going to look to you for the guidance as to how to do that.
And then they learn what's best for the house,
Yes, it gives them the opportunity
everyone.
to grow up. They will
Because
then
there's
grow up.
times where one has a greater need, and the whole family has to, that's a greater need right now. We got to ignore this other stuff.
Yeah, there's the
This,
balance, isn't it? The balance
yeah.
between the group and the family, or the
And
family and the individual.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm,
This is marvelous stuff. I mean, this is really foundational architecture for how to live a spiritual life.
mm-hmm,
Because really what we're saying is that highest good within that paradigm of raising your kids, that is God in
mm-hmm,
that paradigm. That's God. So you can reduce it back to the normal Christian saying of put God first in your life.
mm-hmm.
That's speaking and living from your God, which is what's best for them, that's going to align everything. Your devotion to God in that paradigm, the God of what's best for them, that will make everything better.
And again, I mean, you can't be responsible for how someone, another adult, responds to being called on
Oh yeah,
something.
yeah. Because what do?
And
We jump in, we try to rescue them. We don't want
yes,
them to feel bad, and so
yeah,
we're out of integrity
yeah, yeah.
because we put their comfort in place of the God of what's best for them.
Mm-hmm,
So what does it matter if they feel bad or throw a tantrum or act
mm-hmm,
out or whatever they do? That's on them.
mm-hmm.
Well, we're always modeling. That's the thing. We're always modeling behavior and who we are. And so that modeling then gets transferred, because that's what we're doing. That's the teaching. We're teaching then, and that gets passed on. And so, some people have that opportunity to look at and grow and evolve. Some just take that modeling, then keep on going.
That
Mm-hmm.
that's what a rite of passage is. That's where you break that model and you go out on your quest to discover yourself. Usually for boys at the age of 14,
Mm.
rite of passage. That's what that
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, individuating.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're individuating, and that's why we're still here on the planet, coming in and manifesting it into the physical space, so that we get to practice our integrity and that connection, or what is, because in a sense we are a child from the source, or the creation of the source. And so, so we're modeling from what we have as a soul, and getting to know that, and then becoming, I guess, something more, because we're always evolving on the mind of the creator. We're part of that,
Yeah.
because not it's not that we're just growing. The whole thing is growing.
Yeah, and you also want to be able to correct yourself
Right. Right.
and support yourself.
I'm just thinking of, if a person is solely with God, the God of what's best for them, if you're solely for that, then your actions can tend to be kind of cruel, or not intentionally cruel, but the truth, the unvarnished truth, can really hurt. And I think it takes a certain humanity and mercy and compassion. First you have to really align yourself with truth and be merciless on yourself. Really be strict with yourself in that, but then
Mm-hmm.
be kind
Are you talking
when you,
about integrity?
well, well, yeah, as far as, walking your talk or being, yeah, you can, water only rises to its own level. So you can't really do anything you can't fake anything, not in reality, not in the effect that your actions have. The effects will always be mirror what you really are, not what you say you are. Because that's how God sees things. So, but yeah, it's integrity in that you have to maintain that within yourself, but it means you have to be true to God, that God that you have placed there. And the more true you are to that, that gives you the ability then to speak truth. But then the onus is on you to wield the truth in a way that doesn't destroy more than it should. Because the truth is like a sword. You want to be able to use the sword with
Without
skill.
hurt Yeah, without hurting anybody with it, without cutting anybody.
Well, sometimes you have to cut. That's a hard truth about that.
Well, I mean, okay, when I said cut, I mean not inflict, direct causation of pain, like I'm going to cut you with a sword. I mean,
Oh no,
yeah,
pain is the point. Pain is the point.
well, what do you mean? Can you share more about
That
that? What do
means
you mean?
if somebody is infringing on you, coming at you, then you not only want to stop them, you want to hurt them. But because you're hurt, then it becomes the consequence of their action. If you refrain from that, from causing them pain, you're taking away the lesson.
I don't do, I can't, I don't do that.
I know
I
you
don't,
don't.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to hurt others, but if
I know.
that brings them hurt, I mean, it's not my intention to hurt.
I'm going to go back to those times when someone told me this is not the way we do things. I still carry the scars of those times. Those people cut me.
They
So
judged
that
you.
no, no,
That's
no,
no.
no, no,
Well,
no, no. They didn't judge me. They were being
okay.
true to the law. The law says this is how we do things, kid, and you better get in line. They weren't judging me. They were saying
Oh, okay. So
you're
you
not
were doing
following the
some.
law.
Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, are you saying that you were doing something that was cruel or inconsiderate or
No, something stupid.
something stupid? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I remember as
Okay,
a
well,
teenager, I had a job delivering pressurized canisters of chlorine gas to swimming pools.
okay.
I pulled up on the patio one day. Few of the lifeguards came out. They were going to bring them inside. I was unloading out of the back of a pickup truck. I lost grip. The thing slid out and hit the pavement. Bong,
Well,
bong, bong. I ca- that's one of my scars. Those guys ripped me a new one. They meant
yeah,
it to
but
hurt. They meant it to hurt. All three of them came in and they each one cut me. And the object of that was to cause me pain so that I will never forget.
to do that, to be more careful. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
to
there are
be
different
careless.
ways.
Don't be careless.
There are
Because
different
the
ways
law
to
that
do
I
it.
broken, the law that I
Hmm.
broke was don't be careless.
Right. Be
That was the
careful.
law. Yeah. That's
Okay.
not judgment. That's just straight fact. I broke that law.
Yeah. Well, they could have done it in many different ways, but that's the way they chose to do it, and that's the way you experienced it. I get that. Yeah.
And that's why I remember it today.
And you remember it because it's
Yeah.
kind of you've left scarred you.
That's the way it works with
It's a wound.
older men with boys. That's
Oh boy.
how we do it.
Wow.
That works.
I
Don't
guess that's the male. That's the
no, that's
testosterone way. Like, I
so it's the
I
masculine way. It's the divine
okay.
masculine. Yeah.
Okay. Then I can say, yeah. So I didn't listen to my mother. I went to the river, cut my foot on glass, came home with a bleeding foot. My mother got a little, uh, she used a little, willow switch and hit me. I said, why are you hitting me? I'm already hurting because I want you to remember not to go there when I
That
tell
was
you not to go there.
see, that was her masculine. Her
Yeah.
masculine kicked in.
Okay.
There you go.
I get it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll never forget that one. And I've not forgotten it.
Those see, I need these scars that I have.
So
I
they're
would
they're
never
kind of
yeah,
teaching. They're
yeah,
teaching folks to remember through pain. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because every time I, break that same law, that one scar will twinge a little bit,
Or you burn your finger, right? Or burning your hand, you touch and the
right?
fire will. does burn really. It's okay.
In the rites of passage we were talking about earlier, so many rites of passage involve scarification.
Mm-hmm.
Some cut, some mark,
Yeah.
even a tattoo. I think
Yeah,
that's kind
that's
of at the
that.
root of young
The
kids getting
Sundance.
tattoos. Huh.
Yeah, the Sundance,
Right.
the Native Americans do. They do the piercing. I go like, oh, I could never do that. They actually hang their flesh. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
But they didn't do
couldn't
that to
do
the
it.
women. It was only the men.
It's only the men.
That was a
I could
male rite of
I could even
passage.
watch.
Right.
But yes, but that is a way of releasing that um whatever it is that you're hanging on to, that so it forces that, I guess, that darkness or whatever judgment you have on yourself, that to release it. So you have a greater pain there to force you to release it. This is like, remember yourself,
Yeah.
remember the creator. And it's like, oh, so yeah, that's what it's used for.